welcome to the Everyday Theology Podcast. This is our series, Everyday Wisdom. What is your knee-jerk reaction when someone says that you don't know something? When someone points out your lack of information, your lack of common sense, or your lack of wisdom? Are you open to that being true? Or when your intelligence is called into question, do you maybe even go through the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance? If there's one thing we've learned so far from studying Proverbs, it's that our default way of thinking and living is not wise. Proverbs 3 verse 5 says, "Trust in Yahweh with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding." We can't lean on our own understanding. We need help. And we need to have humility in order to seek help and actually grow in our understanding. That's what we'll see in our text today as we begin Proverbs 9. Proverbs 9, 1 through 6. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. She has slaughtered her cattle. She has mixed her wine. She has also prepared her table. She has sent out her maidens. She calls from the tops of the heights of the city. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. To him who lacks a heart of wisdom, she says, "Come, eat of my bread, drink of the wine I have mixed. Forsake your simplicity and live, and step into the way of understanding." So in chapter 9 of Proverbs, we get this picture of wisdom preparing her home to receive guests. She's built the house, she's prepared the food, and then the invitation goes out. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. The word simple or simplicity is in this passage twice, and it's going to show up 2 more times near the end of Proverbs 9. Now, what does that mean? I don't want to be unnecessarily offensive here, but we dumb. We lack understanding. We are simple. Sure, we can understand complex things, but not like we think we can. Not compared to the creator of the universe. His ways and thoughts are higher and better than our ways and thoughts. So hear this truth from Scripture and take some time to reflect on your reaction to it. You are simple. Is there any hint of pride in your reaction? James 4:6 and Proverbs 3:34 both say that God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Walking as a disciple of Jesus requires humility. So when wisdom's call goes out and says, whoever is simple, whoever lacks a heart of wisdom, we have to recognize it and say, that's me. I'm simple. In the book of Daniel, we're introduced to the king of Babylon. His name is Nebuchadnezzar. He's in charge of the known world at the time and has taken many of the Israelites captive to Babylon, including Daniel and his friends. And if anyone has a reason to be prideful, it's this man. He would never think that he is simple, right? I mean, look at how great his kingdom is. In fact, he thinks so highly of himself that he makes a giant golden statue of himself for the people to bow down and worship. And there's these guys that we're introduced to. They are renamed in Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they famously refuse to bow down and worship anything or anyone other than Yahweh. So Nebuchadnezzar, he throws them in the fiery furnace. And the text says that the fire is so hot that even the guys getting close to throw them in get killed by it. Daniel 3:24 and 25. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astounded and hurriedly stood up, and he answered and said to his high officials, "Was it not 3 men we cast tied up into the midst of the fire?" They answered and said to the king, "Certainly, O king." He answered and said, "Look, I see 4 men loosed and walking about in the midst of the fire without harm, and the appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods. Miraculously, they don't smell like smoke. The text says their hair isn't even singed." Nebuchadnezzar then says, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." And this is just one of many examples in Scripture that shows us that it is possible to pay God lip service, to appear to be humble, but not have a changed heart, but not actually believe what you are saying, to still be full of pride. And we know this because in chapter 4, Nebuchadnezzar has clearly not realized he lacks a heart of wisdom, that he is simple. He has a nightmare, And Daniel is the only one in his kingdom who can interpret the dream. And it's a warning from God that if Nebuchadnezzar does not humble himself, God's going to humble him. And the text says that God gives him a full year to do this. And then Nebuchadnezzar says this in Daniel 4. We read Daniel 4, 30 to 33. The king answered and said, "Is this not Babylon the Great, which I myself have built as a royal house by the strength of my power and for the glory of my majesty?" Continuing, while the word was in the king's mouth, a voice came from heaven saying, "King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is said, the kingdom has been removed from you, and you will be driven away from mankind, and your place of habitation will be with the beasts of the field. You will be given grass to eat like cattle, and 7 periods of time will pass over you until you know that the Most High is the powerful ruler over the kingdom of mankind and gives it to whomever he wishes." Immediately the word concerning Nebuchadnezzar was accomplished, and he was driven away from mankind and began eating grass like cattle, and his body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair had grown like eagle's feathers and his nails like birds' claws. Nebuchadnezzar is humbled in a very unique way. But if you keep going, God shows him grace. It's incredible, really. This prideful pagan king is used by God to humble God's people, Israel. Then he himself is humbled by God, but shown great grace. The act of being humbled is in itself grace in Nebuchadnezzar's life and in our lives because of what it leads to. Daniel 4, 34 through 37. But at the end of those days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up my eyes toward heaven, and my knowledge returned to me. And I blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom endures from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing. But he does according to his will in the host of heaven and among the inhabitants of earth. And no one can strike against his hand or say to him, "What have you done?" At that time my knowledge returned to me, and my majesty and splendor were returned to me for the glory of my kingdom. And my high officials and my nobles began seeking me out. So I was reestablished in my kingdom, and extraordinary greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are true and his ways just, and he is able to humble those who walk in pride. God is able to humble those who walk in pride. Straight from his lips. Hear the warning from Scripture. Humble yourself before the Lord. He is God. You are not. Back to Proverbs 9. I'm going to read 4 through 6 again. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. To him who lacks a heart of wisdom, she says, "Come, eat of my bread and drink of the wine I have mixed. Forsake your simplicity and live, and step into the way of understanding." Do you see what humility leads to? She says, "Come, eat of my bread, drink of my wine, forsake your simplicity and live." Humility leads to satisfaction, to contentment, to fullness, to life. And pride offers those things. Pride offers contentment and satisfaction, but it's a lie. Don't fall for the trap. Don't believe the lie. Instead, praise, exalt, and honor the King of heaven. For all his works are true, and his ways are just, and he is able to humble those who walk in pride. I'll see you for the next episode of Everyday Wisdom.